this computer. Okay, great. We're on. Okay. Hello. Welcome back to Rock Your Life with Arian Alexander. This is such a good day because I have my friend Marla Mervis-Hartmann here with us today. And she is the expert of how to love your body, love yourself, because she's the creator of Love Your Body, Love Yourself, which is her signature coaching program. So her work is all around how to heal these experiences and issues that we've all had with our bodies. I've yet to meet one person on the planet that does not have body image issues. And Marla is the expert at this. She's also a Reiki master, which if you don't know what Reiki is, OMG, you're going to find out about that. And she's a coach and speaker. She's in a TEDx talk. You can find her on the interwebs, on the YouTubes with her TEDx talk. And she's just an overall fabulous person. So I was like, we got to get her on the Rock Your Life with Arian Alexander show to dish about some body love. So hi, Marla.
Hello, Arian.
So
So
good
good
to
to
see
be
you.
here.
Marla's very pretty. I wish you could all see her. She's blonde and beautiful. You'll see her when you look her up on Instagram. We'll just get that out of the way right now. What's your Instagram, Marla?
Love your body, love yourself always.
Love your body, love yourself always. And your Facebook?
Marla Mervis-Hartmann.
Okay. And we will give that to you again at the end, but you might want to look up her Instagram as you're listening to this show on Dash Radio on the Fun for Life radio station, which is Fun for Life. It's kind of perfect that we're doing it right now because you're so fun. So, Marla, we're going to just jump in with, a really big topic here about losing weight because I don't know about you, but I have not ever known anyone who's not tried to lose weight. Even if like they're thin, like I have my best friend Britt growing up, she was like so skinny and everyone made fun of her. And then she's gotten older as an adult. She's still really thin, but she's even like, oh, I need to lose a few pounds. And like even people that are naturally thin still want to lose weight. So I don't think I've ever met anyone who doesn't want to lose weight. Have you?
Not really.
Right?
I
It's
mean,
kind of
finally, after working with me, people are not wanting to lose weight, and that's not their end all be all. But it seems like that's the go-to thing. Not feel good about ourselves, lose weight, right?
right. Yes.
Um, have a breakup, lose weight. All these things always go to I'm supposed to fix my body and lose weight.
Yeah. So I love that first of all, I love that you said that people that work with you don't want to lose weight, which is awesome. And that's what we're going to really dive into is what do you mean by that? And how do people, what is the opportunity that's there? So, what I wrote down to talk to you about was what are these big myths about losing weight? Everyone it's in our culture to lose weight, to be thinner, to be perfect, to have, we look at J-Lo on the Super Bowl last year and she turned 50 and she's looking like a, bombshell. I'm also like, I live in Hollywood. You lived in Hollywood in LA for a long time. Like it's there's a lot of secrets to looking that good at 50 PS. We won't get into those today, but it's not just about health, eating well and and working out. But this is what we're fed are these images of the perfect bodies and the perfect people and what this perfection. So there's all these myths about losing weight. So what do you find in your work with women and men all over the world that are these big myths?
Well, one is that diets work, and they don't. The dieting industry is a 60, maybe $70 billion industry. Why is that? It's because we keep coming back. If they worked, we would do one diet, we would lose the weight, and we would feel great. But no, we're searching, we're like wanting the next diet and then this diet. And then we are thinking that it's going to fix us, that it's going to fix our issues with not liking our bodies, with body acceptance, with these deep places inside of us that we feel are wrong, or that we're not, showing up to what society's expectations are. We think that dieting is going to fix that. It doesn't fix it on that very, very core level. And as we all know, dieting, what happens? We get excited. We get like all jazzed up. We start using our willpower, and willpower works for a certain amount of time. And then stress comes in, and then it just whips that willpower away. And we begin to eat or binge or whatever we need to do to balance out the amount of restriction that we've done. Restriction is what creates the binge eating. It's what creates the stress levels in our system. And our body always wins, right? Our body, if we're restricting for too long, our body is going to find a way. We say, why am I sabotaging myself? Why am I sick? Why am I not exercising? Why am I craving all this stuff? All these, sweets and fats. It's because our body is like, feed me. And if you're not going to feed me and you're going to starve me and you're going to restrict all these things, I am going to do whatever I can to get to this. And if you do eat, I'm going to make sure you eat a lot. And we do that. And then we binge or we overeat. And then what do? We feel really bad about ourselves. We go, I can't believe I did this. Why can't I figure it out? Why can everyone else diet, but I can't? There's something must be wrong with me. And then we go on the cycle again and we go, okay, this time I'm going to try this diet and I'm going to do it this way. And we gear ourselves up and we get ourselves all excited and we get the willpower and we talk about it and we get a friend to do the dieting thing with us. And we just get so thinking that the diet is going to work. And then it happens again. And sometimes that cycle can take a week and sometimes it can take a year. But that cycle is set in there. And so we need to look at that cycle of dieting, restriction, binging, sabotaging, shaming ourselves and see how we can stop that cycle all together. And there are other ways to do it, right? There's other ways to be with our food that isn't black and white. It isn't on or off. And that can look very different. And I'll pause there for you to ask me the question so I don't keep going.
Speaking of hearing these examples of this starting and having the willpower and the commitment, and then the stress comes in and then you fall off the wagon and then you get back on. I don't know. I've never had that experience in my life. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, really?
I've never heard of any of my experience of life being like this, except for all day, every day of my life. P.S. I'm laughing as I was hearing you. I was like, oh my God, did she just get into my head? Because I get it. And everyone I've ever known, it's like, yes, I'm going to do this and do it with a friend, or sign up for this coaching program, or, do this paleo and do this keto and do this whatever. And I eat lots of carbs and I don't eat whatever it is. And it can last for a while. But then I love what you said, like the stress comes in or something else comes in and then fall off the wagon. And then the body wins because it's been in restriction and the body wants to push back. So it comes back and then we make ourselves wrong. And then we're like, what's wrong with me? I can't do this. I suck. I'm a loser. I'll always have the extra weight, whatever it is. And it's like, I see it.
It makes me so sad, Arian. It
I
makes me
know.
so sad because we're, as what you were saying, like we're off the wagon. How about we just throw the wagons away and find another way?
Burn the freaking wagons.
Burn the wagons. How do we do that though? Because we're only offered in our society this option that in order to feel good about ourselves, we have to diet and exercise a certain amount of time. And if we're not, then our body's going to go to hell.
Yeah.
And
100%. Yes.
There are other ways. There's other options other than dieting. And these options look like listening to our bodies, becoming friends with our body, and getting in touch with what our body's actually wanting. So what happens is, and this is from my experience, is from all the amount of restriction and dieting, over exercising and pushing, I literally cut off all of my cues, my body's cues. So when my body would tell me to go to sleep, I'd stay awake. If it said, you're really tired, you need to go to sleep, I'd go for a run. You're really hungry, don't listen. Chew gum, drink more water, don't eat, right? You don't need that much food. Oh, yes, I do, right? Whatever my cues were, it's like I wasn't listening and I didn't trust my body. because I thought that there was something fundamentally wrong with my cues, that if I listened, then I would be overweight, that I would never want to exercise, that I would be lying on, the couch with a big bag of chips and a big bowl of ice cream, right? But that's not really what our bodies want. Our bodies actually want us to be healthy and want us to thrive. So we have to bridge and we have to create a new level of trust in our bodies and find a way where we can listen and show up to what we're hearing. We
Wow.
may hear it,
Yeah.
right? We may hear it. We may be like, okay, you need food. But no, it's like, okay, no, I'm going to trust that voice and listen and actually show up for it.
Wow. It's really fascinating what you're saying of how anyone listening, I'm just asking you to look within yourself and see how many times you've gone against your intuition or you've gone against those cues. And so you gave really clear examples of that, of like, I'm hungry, but I'm just not going to eat. I'm going to, stay in hunger because I need to lose weight, or I'm going to go run. Or, a lot of people say, when you're hungry, just drink water, or, whatever it is, like, and just ignoring the body's cues. And then you're going to override that system, and that system's not going to speak to you anymore when you've ignored the cues and uh, made the cues not important. So what I really hear you speaking into a lot is physiology of like, we think dieting or losing weight and dieting is like just like mental, and it's like, well, it's physiology, because like you said, the body's going to win. The body needs things and it wants things. But I just see in my own experience and so many people I know, it's not having the trust that your body will balance, and not having the trust that your body does know what it wants and what's good for it. Is that what I'm hearing and what you're saying?
Absolutely. Because if you don't trust your body doesn't trust you. So that example of if we're restricting for so long, our body's going to take control and make sure that we get fed because
Mm, mhm.
there's a famine coming. So our body is going to say, we better feast right now because I don't trust that she's going to feed me. So
Yeah,
if we start to balance
so
that out, we can work with the body and we can listen.
nice. Yeah, it's interesting because it's like I speak a lot about on other interviews I've had for this radio show that I like with relationships. I harken back to cavemen times because we haven't evolved. Like our neuroscience chemistry has not evolved since we were cave people. Like the DNA is the same basically. So it's interesting what I hear you saying is like, when we were cave people and we did know there was like winter coming, and so we did have to eat a lot and hoard food or whatever because we knew there was winter coming. So that's what our bodies are doing now, is like, oh, the DNA, the system in the body, it doesn't know the difference between winter coming and skipping a meal, or skipping or fasting for a day or two. It doesn't know the difference. So if we're fasting for a day or two, the body can go, holy shit, when we're done, we better eat a lot because winter be coming and we're gonna have to need some food. So that's what I hear you saying, is like it's this cause and effect.
Absolutely, 100%. And so we want to work with that. We want to work with our body's inner intelligence. What happens is we use the cues from the external cues, and the external cues are social media, Instagram, someone else saying that this is good for their body, someone else showing this perfect picture of their butt, right? And that makes us feel in shame that my butt doesn't look that way. So it's this external cues that I need to change my body. Oh, you're saying intermittent fasting works? Okay, let me check that out. Okay, this feels so not good, but someone else said it was. So we're
Wow.
giving all our power to society. We're also giving away the power on this, it's this epidemic that society is saying that our bodies are not enough, our bodies are not good enough. And if you accept your body, there's something wrong with you. Like it's fascinating to me that to love our bodies is a courageous thing. Right? They'll say that I have the courage to love my body. I'm like,
Wow.
that's sad. But
Right.
it's actually true. When I work with people and when I speak to women and do workshops, I will have them do this bragging exercise where they brag about themselves and talk and share with another partner. And it is a excruciating for some of them, and then so freeing, and this feeling like, is this safe? Am I allowed to do this? Because we turn up this voice of negativity all the time, but to say, I'm allowed to, I'm actually allowed to like my belly and this role
Wow.
that I have. I'm actually allowed to like it. No, you're not. No, you're not allowed to like that.
Oh
No, are
no.
you kidding me? Like,
No,
you better do something about that.
that's
You
right. You
better
need to
cover it
fix
up
it.
and hide that.
That's
You
right.
better fix it. Oh, but I like it. No, you're not allowed. No, sorry. Right? Like, that's crazy to me.
Right.
And that's what we're being fed. And why are we being fed that? Because it has us feel like we need something and we need to buy something. It goes into all of that. But I do feel
Right.
like there's an aspect of that.
I love that. It's so cool because it's one of the myths that you talk about is that like it's not okay to love your body because we have made in our culture the negative self-talk is totally okay because we're so used to it. And so the actual acceptance and the loving of our body just as it is not okay because cultural consciousness says it needs to look a different way. And so it's so ingrained in our brains, like you say, like you look on Instagram and it's like, oh my God, there's just the images everywhere. And then what I like what you said too about how uh, what works for someone. Well, I got to try intermittent fasting because that works for this person, and I got to try, high carb because that works for this person. I got to try low carb because that works for this person. I got to try vegetarian, whatever it is, instead of really understanding that each body is so different and it's not going to be one thing for everybody. So my
Absolutely.
question is oh my gosh. Well, first of all, you're gonna tell us like how we can shift this because I'm so excited to hear for everyone listening because I know if you're listening, you can relate to this. Because again, like every single person I've ever met has like food issues of some sort or body image issues. Even my friends that are super fit and like super lean, they still have body image issues. It's just it never ends, and they still have food issues. Maybe it's too much controlling of food, So it's whether you're too skinny or you're too overweight, which that even if that is a judgment call, too skinny or too overweight, instead of just the neutrality of like this is what the body looks like. So I know you're going to give us some great tools and tips of how to actually work with our bodies, and but we're going to take a little break first and be right back here with Marla Mervis-Hartmann. She's the creator of Love Your Body, Love Yourself, and she's got some juicy stuff. So we'll be right back in just a minute. You're listening to us on Fun for Life Radio on the Dash Radio Network. And now we're on our break, and now we're on our break,
Okay.
and now I'm coming back from break.
So, okay.
Yeah, we're just going to come back. It's so good.
Okay.
And we're back. And I want you to make sure to listen to Relationship Renegades right here on Fun for Life Radio with my friends Emilio and Rachel, who are pretty much awesome people and have an awesome relationship and teach you how to have awesome relationship too with all the guests they have and their own personal experiences. So check out Relationship Renegades with Emilio and Rachel. Also, there's a great show called Hollywood Unfiltered with Dana Buckler, and he does a deep dive into behind the scenes in Hollywood with producers and directors and giving you all kinds of insights on all the cool stuff that's happening in Hollywood. And, we love that stuff. So check out Hollywood Unfiltered with Dana Buckler. And we're back here with Marla Mervis-Hartmann, and we're dishing about the big myths about losing weight. P.S. She just told us that diets don't work. Huh. Newsflash, I can relate to that. I think I've been on a diet since I was 11 years old. And and I remember binging. I just remember this. Like I remember binge eating at like 9 years old. So like it starts young. And I know there's plenty of people that have, their own experiences of being very young and having these issues. So You talked about how like it's not okay for us to love our bodies and that, we're just taught to have all this negative self-talk all the time and that the diets don't work when we go into restriction, that we're going to have a bounce back off of that into something else. So what do how do we heal this? How do we, I know it's a broad stroke that I'm asking, but what's the possibility of this being shifted?
Well, if I can shift it, you can shift it because I was I was really in it. I mean, I was so in it that I mean, I the binging, the purging, the over exercising, the anorexic tendencies. And I do not come from big numbers. I was born thin, healthy, uh beautiful body, and it doesn't matter what size we are. And it
Mm,
doesn't matter what we look like. We look at other people, we compare them. We're like, oh, she must love her body. No, she probably doesn't,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can smell it. I can see it. I can smell it. I can feel the control in someone's field if they have things going on with their body. It probably has to do with being a Reiki master and kind of tapping into that. But it is so prevalent in our society. What I feel, I mean, there's so many different ways to go about this, but the first thing I think is important for you to realize, what I would say maybe is myth number two, is that body acceptance does not mean that you're giving up on yourself. It doesn't mean that if I accept my body, that my body's going to go to hell.
I can imagine that if you're listening, can you relate to this? Because I can. It's that thing about like if I really give myself permission to listen to my body and to love my body, well, then I'll just be because obviously I'm a business and life coach. And so I hear this from clients. Well, if I really accept the situation, then won't I just be lazy and like not do anything? And it's actually not like that, but that's what our heads tell us. So the heads is going to say, well, if I really accept my body, then why would I want to work out? Like, why would I want to eat well? If I can just accept it, then it's that thought that it's going to be like uh, almost like a defeat or like giving up to really accept and love. And that's not what you're
Yeah,
saying.
right. I used negative body image as my diet.
Right.
It was my diet tactic. It was the way that I kept myself in control. And when I started to accept myself and my body and my food started to get normal, I felt so uncomfortable feeling okay about myself because I didn't have that voice saying, you better keep it under control. You better make sure it's okay. So I would go, oh, okay, don't worry. You're still not that thin. Oh, okay, good. I'm still safe. I'm still okay hating my body. Right. I'm telling you the inner fabrics of my
Oh,
brain and how it
yes.
would work. And so it is letting ourselves know that no, I'm allowed to accept my body, because there is a difference, Arian, between loving our bodies and liking our bodies. And so this is important. I want you all to get this. So when I tell people to love their bodies, they're like, whatever. Like, there's no way in hell that I'm going to
Right.
do that.
Sure. Exactly.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Like, I don't need like body acceptance, whatever. You got to fix me. Do you see my
Mm.
body? There's no way
Hmm.
in hell I'm going to like this. Like, just no. But there's a difference between liking and loving. So you may not like what you look like. You may look in the mirror and be like, that is not my ideal. I'm not feeling that at all. I don't like I don't like the zit on my face. I don't like the fact that I gained 5 pounds. I do not like it. Okay, you can have your dislike, but you need to love it and you need to respect your body.
Mm.
You need to listen to your body like you would your own best friend. You need to listen. You need to show up. You need to not speak negative to your body. You need to give your body self care. You need to put your body to sleep when it needs to be put to sleep. So you can still love your body. You can be in acceptance for how it is right now. Because sometimes, I've said to myself many times, okay, this is what I look like. This is who I am today. There is nothing that I can do today that is going to change from the moment right now until I leave the house. This is what I look like in my clothes. So what are you going to do, Marla? Are you going to be in pain and suffering all day? Or are you just going to be in acceptance and deal with it and go have your life? Right? So we have these choices and we can start beginning to separate. I don't like it, but I am going to show up and I'm going to be in a space of love. And it is, Arian, it's a muscle. It is a muscle that we have to work. And sometimes it is 5 minutes. For the next 5 minutes, I'm not going to look in the mirror and I'm just going to be in acceptance for what I look like. Okay, I'm going to go to this party. At this party, I am not going to look around and be comparing myself to other people. I'm going to be okay. This is what I look like in my dress. And I'm going to accept what it is. And I'm not even just going to accept, I'm going to play it. I'm going to act as if that I think I'm hot and just play that off. Right? So there's all these different ways that we can be with ourselves, but we want to like build that muscle of body acceptance and try it on and see how long we can keep it rolling.
Oh my God, that sounds so hard.
Right?
Like, yes. I mean, you're saying it, and I'm like in my own head going to have 5 minutes of no criticism, of like acceptance of, for me, it's because again, like everybody's got these issues. And I know there's plenty of people who can look at me and be like, oh my God, she's fit and healthy and strong and looks great and I'm tall, right? Whatever. But of course, if sitting, I can sit here with you right now and be like, oh, my belly should be flatter. And so, and I know you're listening and you're going, yep, because you've got those thoughts about your body too. So how do we how do we shift that? Like, I hear you saying it's the muscle being built, but like, what do you recommend for starting places? Because and again, I want to go back to what you said too before we answer that, about the distinctions between liking your body and loving your body. And I really like that you're making that distinction, that like loving is the true essence of who we are, and it's the true essence of our being. And so we can love our body as this beautiful thing here on the planet Earth, that like there's only one Marla, there's only one Arian, there's only one each of you listening. That's all there is. So there's love in that. And it's the liking that we can love our body and not like it, is what I'm hearing you say. Like I can say, yeah, I wish my stomach was flatter, and I can still love the essence of my body because it's here doing such great work for me on this planet.
Yes, it's like your partner. You may not like what they're doing and how they're showing up, and you're like, I do not like you, but I love you. I
Do
really
not
do love you.
like how you leave your socks on the floor every day and you leave crumbs on the counter.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not enamored by you at all in this moment.
Okay, that's such a great metaphor, because it's so true. If you think about anyone that you love in this planet, there's going to be things that you don't like about them. Like, we don't like every single thing everyone does. Your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. Like, there's got to be things that you're like, ugh, but you still love them. So I hear you saying, like, do that to yourself. There's things that you might not like about yourself, but you can love yourself fully just because.
Yes. No, I want to talk to you, Arian, because if you're saying that you're having a challenging time sitting there for 5 minutes liking your body, then we got to look at that, right? So what is that about? Like what are these high expectations? This is what people do. They
Yeah.
put themselves in these such high expectations of who they think they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And they
Oh, well,
don't
totally.
forgive themselves. They don't forgive themselves for being human. I would forgive you, right? But I'm not going to forgive myself.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgive you for having two babies and having a belly, but you don't forgive yourself for having two babies and having a belly,
Right.
right? It's like these setting ourselves up with these high expectations
Yeah.
and then and somewhat relishing in the fact that I love to beat myself up for it too, right? I love
Mhm.
to not feel empowered. What Because this is the thing, Arian. how we're talking about this as in steps and tools, but deep. This is deep work. This is the very fabric of like loving ourselves. This is these places deep inside that we're not allowing ourselves to show up. This can happen from deep traumas in our system. This can happen from violation and sexual violation or pains that are happening from a very young age. And so this isn't just, hey, do this just tip and tool and you're going to be completely healed. Sometimes it is. Sometimes these things just turn it around and then we go in and they shift everything. But this is about slowing down and looking at why. Why am I choosing to believe this about myself? Why am I choosing to say that there's something wrong with me and that I'm not allowed to be happy or that I'm not allowed to be a human being and forgive myself and be present and be in this body and then go live your life for crying
Mhm.
out loud, right? The
Mhm.
amount of time and energy that I have wasted on worrying about my body, it's sad to me. I could
Right?
have done so much more, right? Like
Right?
looking up diets and this and going on exercising when I could be like actually doing something with my life. And I think that's what we do. And for me, and I invite you listeners to think about this, I did this as a way to dumb myself down. And I think a lot of people have that same experience where they're putting these systems up to make themselves feel bad about themselves when in all honesty, they know that they're powerful, amazing beings that could create so much impact in the world. But I better not do that because my body isn't good enough and I can't be seen, I can't be looked at. I mean, that's what I did. I know that I dumbed myself down and made myself small to make myself feel safe. And I did that through dieting and not liking my body and busting myself to a smaller place. It's
Yeah,
safe there.
right, it's safe, and you that's what you're really speaking into is it's, and, spending all that time and energy thinking about how you're not good enough and thinking that you need to lose weight and thinking that your body's not perfect and it should look like something else and it should be different. You're spending so much time in those thoughts that's so unempowering. And the flip side of that is because it's scary, it's perceived as scary to live in a fully empowered place. So what would it look like if, you didn't have those what it would look like if your thoughts were actually, I can create whatever I desire on this planet. And like, I love myself full stop. And I love others full stop. And there's no need to judge myself or anyone. And that openness can create so much inspiration and power, but it's a place that we're not taught to live in our society, in our culture. We're
Mhm.
taught to play a smaller game, to dumb ourselves down. And so it's what I really hear you say is this place of accepting the body. And yes, we can give tools and tips, but it's really the essence of how can I have more compassion for myself in this experience and more loving, how can I experience more loving with myself and let that lead instead of all that time and energy going to the negative self-talk and the beating myself up. And then what I hear you saying is that's
100%.
that's how you start shifting it.
Yes, this compassion that you're talking about, it's like the umbrella. Like all the work that is being done with our bodies and our relationship with food needs to fall under this umbrella of compassion. So it's not compassion like the victim, like, oh, here I am again, right? I'm sabotaging myself. My body looks like this. No, that's different. Compassion is, whoa, I have this victim inside of me that feels so uncomfortable. oh, I need to have compassion for the fact that I live in a society that is telling me that my body is wrong. Oh, I have compassion for myself that my mom put me on diets when I was a child, and I'm still believing that I need to do that. Like it's this huge umbrella of like how would I show up with my body and food if compassion if I had to go into a compassion bubble in order to live my life.
Mm, a compassion bubble.
Hmm.
That's so delightful.
It is.
I want to
Oh,
live
I
in a
like
compassion bubble.
it. Me too.
It's awesome because it's if you know the all the other radio shows, the interviews that I've done with people, I swear this is all I freaking talk about is like compassion because it's the antidote. It is the solution to everything is compassion. And what does that mean? And so how I experience and what you're saying is having compassion for that part of see again I think sometimes it can be people think well if I have compassion and I'm soft then I'm just going to eat whatever then I'm just going to eat I've thought that like oh if I just have compassion and acceptance then I'll just eat brownies all day. Well, I've done that. I've eaten brownies all day plenty of times and then I get sick. And then I don't want to eat brownies anymore. Like the body knows what it'll keep me on track. But what I'm saying to that is like the compassion, having the compassion can be perceived as like we talked about in the beginning, like giving up or giving in. When it's having the compassion for the experiences, having compassion for that part of yourself that binges, having compassion for the part of yourself that starves itself, having compassion for the part of you that wants to try a new diet, having compassion for the part of you that says you're going to be on track with your food today and is not, the compassion for the part of you that judges yourself when you think you're overweight. So it's having compassion for all these places where we just have these thoughts that take us off track. And it's almost like how I experience it is almost like distancing. So it's a little easier to distance. So for example, if I just say I have compassion for my body as it is, it doesn't, it's too big, it's too personal. But when I can distance it and say, I have compassion for the part of me who thinks I need massive amounts of sugar every day to be happy. Or, you know what I mean? Like that's a thing that it's a behavior. It's not me. It's just a behavior that's coming out of something. Or compassion, as I said earlier, like compassion for the part of me who literally thinks sitting here right now that I'm not good enough because my stomach's not flatter. Like I can distance from that and be like, oh right, that's just a part of me that thinks that instead of like Arian as a whole thinks she's not good enough. Does that make sense of how to like
Makes total sense. And what I see it as like all these different things you're saying about the judgment, the fear is like they're like tense. It's like this tension. It's like this mindset. It's like, I'm gonna diet now. I'm gonna get it figured out. It's like this tension in the body and in the mind, and it creates stress. And the compassion, I like what you said as far as distancing yourself. The compassion comes in and melts that
mm,
very judgment.
mm,
And it's like, okay, if I just had compassion for my judgment around my belly, okay, what would happen? Oh, something would melt here, something would soften. Because right underneath the holding, the judgment, when there's softness, there is truth. And that truth is what we're listening to, right? It's what the body is allowing us to listen to. It's like, okay, I'm afraid about my belly and what it is right now. Okay, well, if I have compassion for that, okay, well, I can't have compassion for that. I have compassion for that, then I won't exercise and I won't diet. And it's like, okay, I'm still going to hold compassion for that. Oh, but actually, it feels good when I eat well. And I actually would like to eat in a way where I have confidence. So there's like this softening, and like the compassion goes a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And it just softens all of this out. And it is about like peeling away the onions. Is that the right
Yeah,
expression?
peeling the onion.
Peeling
Yeah,
the
yeah.
onion. Yeah.
Yeah, peeling the onion. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The layers of the judgments and the layers of the thoughts and limiting beliefs that have been there, putting them all in the compassion bubble. Oh my gosh, I want to live in a compassion bubble. We're going to take a quick break and we're all going to go get our compassion bubble on and we'll be right back with Marla Mervis-Hartmann. And you're listening to Rock Your Life with Ariane Alexander on Fun for Life Radio on the Dash Radio Network. We're so happy to be part of the Dash Radio family. And there's so many great shows on Fun for Life Radio. We have music shows. We have some great DJs who play really cool, eclectic DJ music, different music that you might not have heard. I love DJ Ceviche. What a great name, DJ Ceviche. So listen to his show. We've got the St. James Band Radio Hour, two of our awesome music shows. So check out all the other shows we have here on Fun for Life, and we'll be right back. Okay. Okay, if you're just tuning in, I'm Ariane Alexander, and I'm here with Marla Mervis-Hartmann. We were just talking about the compassion bubble for your body, for your judgments about your body, for your judgments about food, working out, all of it. And Marla, I know that you are a Reiki master, and I'm wondering how that piece, if you can give us a little sliver of what Reiki is and how that fits into all this healing our experiences with our body.
Yes. So Reiki, if you're not familiar, is a spiritual practice and a healing modality. And it is an energetic healing modality that releases stress in your body so that your body can heal itself. So, as a Reiki master, I can send Reiki to people long distance. I can give Reiki to someone in person. And what it is doing is Reiki is the energy of love, it is the healing aspect of love. So when people say that love heals, that's what Reiki is. And Reiki was such a fundamental part of me healing my relationship with my body and food. Because in these places where I couldn't love myself and I made myself wrong, this beautiful energy of Reiki really came in to help me see how judgmental I was and how negative I was to my body. And so through this energy, I'm able to hold the compassion bubble for people and actually get deep and see what is underneath the hood here. What is really the issue? Because at the end of the day, it's not about the food. The food, the emotional eating, the binge eating, whatever it is, that's the top layer. There is something that is attached to the food, attached to the negative body image that needs the healing. And so Reiki is such a powerful way that I have found to heal my own journey and to support people to hold space for them to heal theirs.
That's so cool. And that's awesome that it's, remote basically. Like you can do Reiki with anyone in the world because it's energetic healing that you're doing. So that's awesome that especially in today's, COVID world, that you can really support people in doing their own healing through the practice of Reiki. And I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that that's part of what helped you heal your experience with your body.
Yes, when I first began, well, I actually found Reiki at a eating disorder support group for women.
Ah.
And there was a woman there who had one hand on her heart, one hand on her belly, and she was like all giving herself love. And I was like, what is she doing? Like loving herself. I was so
Who does
disgusted.
she
I was
think
like,
she is loving herself?
right? I was like, what is she like blatantly loving herself? Right. And
How dare she? So
how
insulting.
dare she? So I asked her after the meeting, I said, what were you doing? And she said, Reiki. And she introduced me, took me to my first Reiki circle and really opened up this world. And I've been doing it, gosh, it's been like 20 years now. And it
Wow.
keeps supporting my journey and the people that I support and help.
That's awesome. It's so good to know. And so can you tell us an example of a client that's had a really great transformation with their experience with their body through working with you?
Gosh, there's so many stories. It's so amazing I love working with women in groups because as we're sharing so openly and honestly here, there can be so much shame and thinking that we're alone in our feelings. So when women come together and get to share their experience of how they're feeling about their bodies, something lifts and the shame isn't in their body anymore. They literally, it releases and they get to have the permission to love and heal themselves. I was working with one woman, and we'll talk about the experience of it not being about the food. But there was a one woman who I was working with, and she was binging a lot. And she would come home from work. She wouldn't eat all day. She would come home from work and then she would binge. She would feel really lonely. And first off, we talked about the fact that she wasn't feeding herself all day, right? And how that doesn't work. That's setting you up to overeat and binge. But then we looked at, like, well, why are you needing to eat that much food? And she shared with me about how when she was younger, her mom wasn't there. Her mom didn't give her the love that she needed. Her mom wasn't present for her. And so she began to eat. And that place, that hole that she had inside was what she was eating over. So when even her realizing that was this big, like, aha, oh, so I'm not wrong for wanting food. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm actually wanting nourishment and I'm wanting to feed something. It's just not working anymore. There's
Mm.
something bigger that I'm needing. Food doesn't work. And there's something more here that I can, that there's a, there's a better source of love that can feed this hole inside
Wow.
of me.
Wow. That just sounds like the magic key of whenever you're overeating or binging or whatever, that there's a lot of factors involved, but definitely it's that feeding, giving it to yourself, feeding yourself and soothing yourself versus thinking food's going to do it.
Absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
a big thing with emotional eating. You know, I have a lot of people will come to me for emotional eating and think there's something wrong with them and think they have to fix the food. You know, was working with this one woman who's like, I just can't, I can't stop emotionally eating. Like I'm, I'm getting all the food out of my house. I'm needing, you know, like, what do I do? Like, I'm just craving it so much. And I'm like, well, what is actually going on? We don't need to fix the food. We need to fix why you're eating, why you're emotionally eating. When we actually fix that and we're present with that, then you won't need the food. And that is,
Mm.
you know, and also I want to say this is so important for listeners to hear, is that it you don't turn it on and off. It's not an on or off switch. It's not like you're emotionally eating and then you're not emotionally eating, or you're eating perfectly and then you're not. It's these moments where I always say, like, normal people overeat, right? Normal people overeat.
That's
But
so
but
funny.
normal people then don't go and shame themselves for it and make themselves wrong and go on a diet for 6 months because they had a weekend of eating a lot. No, they
Hmm.
go, "Whoa, I need to rear that in. I'm not a
Hmm.
bad person because I'm doing it. I just need to look at the fact, whoa, like, I'm eating too much. I'm a little emotional. Okay, what do I need to do?" And then they change the behavior
Hmm.
or they work on it. So it's not about making yourself wrong. We have to catch the moments where we're shaming ourselves for our food behaviors, when we're
Yeah.
making ourselves wrong. You are not wrong.
Yeah.
You don't like how you're eating, and you don't like how you're showing up, but that has nothing to do with who you are.
Mm.
And you
That's where
get
this.
to you get yeah, you get to do it wrong. Like, that's what freedom with
Mm.
food is. Freedom with food is not having your food perfect. Freedom with food is eating too much ice cream and being like, well, that sucked. Or whoa, or not even not suck, like, whoa, I am so full and feel so uncomfortable. I just have to lie here and enjoy how stuffed I am and not feel the shame and then just move on with your life.
Yeah.
That's freedom with food.
Wow, that's amazing. And I mean, that is because it's the shame is like such a huge thing of like, you're right. People that don't, my friends that like don't have food issues, if they just eat too much, of like it's such a good dinner and like there's all these courses and they're like, oh, I ate too much, but they're not like, I'm a horrible person. Now I'm just gonna binge every day. They just don't eat as they just eat normal the next day.
Right.
So I
Yeah, it
really see
just
what you're
balances it
just
out. Yeah,
yeah,
it just
just balance.
balances it
Maybe they're
out.
not as hungry the next day because they ate so much, and so it's just but they're not like they're not, telling themselves what a piece of shit they are for days, which is what I would do and an emotional eater would do. And so I also hear you saying that's just kind of where the distance comes in of like, you eat a pint of ice cream and you don't feel good. And instead of making it's the distance, you're not a bad person. You're not a piece of shit. You didn't do anything wrong. It's giving that that's where this compassion comes in and this distance of like, I made a choice to eat all this ice cream and now I feel like shit. And full stop. Instead of I ate all this ice cream and now I'm a piece of shit and I'm never gonna get what I want and I'm gonna be fat forever and da da da. That's where we have to take the dominion and start to like stop that cycle. And so when the food, the behavior around the food is what it is, but it's not, doesn't mean I'm wrong. It doesn't mean I'm bad. It doesn't mean I'm a terrible person. It doesn't mean I should be ashamed. It's just this behavior and that behavior can shift. Is that what I'm hearing you saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. That's exactly what I'm hearing. That's exactly what you heard. When we want to shift our emotionally eating or binge eating, we need to stop the shame. That's where it
Mm,
stops.
mm.
So it doesn't stop on the other side where we're like restricting and we got it all. We think we're all
Oh,
got it out. It stops when we have a binge or we have a moment of feeling uncomfortable and we don't go there.
that's
Don't
huge.
go
Like
there.
that's the key. I just heard what you said and I really got it that like that's the point. It's not the diet, it's not the working out, it's releasing that shame of the moment when the behavior is what it is. Because that is what's going to heal it and create a new moment that's a more empowered moment.
Absolutely. And it's such a beautiful moment when you do that.
Mhm.
And I think these are moments that we need support around, which is why that I do the work that I do, because sometimes these places they can feel very uncomfortable to navigate because it's like you're at a crossroads and it's easy, very easy, especially if you're tapped into the external world that's telling you that the only way you're going to fix yourself is if you fix your food and your body, to slip back into this other way of doing things. So when we slip, when we're held in a space like, no, you're safe to stay here, and you're safe to be. I say to my clients, I had a client I was working with, and just like, you can't fuck your food up.
Mm,
You can't do it. Like
mm,
it doesn't matter if you eat the salad or if you eat the French fries. It's how you feel about that.
mhm,
Right? So
mhm.
it's just allowing yourself, and allowing yourself to have the freedom can change everything.
Oh my gosh, you're such a genius. And I have two of your book titles now. One of them is It's Not About the Food, and the other one is Stop the Shame. So you've just said two of your book titles in this conversation today. So you're welcome. They are, you said them, not me, but I'm just going to reflect back that those are two of your book titles. So there you go.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is Rock Your Life with Arian Alexander on the Fun for Life Radio Network on Dash Radio. Okay, so we're almost at time. So I'm gonna come back and we're gonna wrap a little bit and then we'll go into the lightning round real quick.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
And we're back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Rock Your Life with Arian Alexander. I'm with Marla Mervis-Hartmann. And Marla is our food, body, love your body, love yourself expert. This has been such an extraordinary conversation. And I know anybody listening has gotten a lot out of this. So like this is one people are going to want to listen to again. So yeah, this is chock full of good stuff. So Marla, first of all, let's tell everybody again where we can find you on the interwebs, on your
Love your
Instagram.
body, love yourself. Love your body, love yourself.com. Love your body, love yourself always on Instagram. And you can find my personal page, Facebook, Marla Mervis-Hartmann.
Okay. And you have your group programs, you have one-on-one coaching for all your love your body, love yourself. And then you also do Reiki. Again, like I said, can be, well, any of your programs can be anywhere in the world, but the Reiki that can really support people in healing their experiences with their body, you can do that anywhere as well. So go check out Marla. When you say hi to her, tell her you heard her on this show because that's fun. And Marla and I are personal friends too. So that's awesome. All right. So, Marla, you live in Hawaii. I'm going to try not to be jealous. I'm like anyone listening, like try not to be jealous. She's sitting in Hawaii right now with like probably looking at the ocean, probably looking at some dolphins and some like trees and all the things that are in Hawaii. Is there maybe a volcano? I don't know. What are you looking at right now? Tell
Hmm.
us your
I'm
view.
looking at the ocean, some beautiful clouds. I love the clouds here. It's so gorgeous. So green and sunny and
So
yes,
good. So good.
beautiful.
Okay, so I have a few questions for you for our lightning round that I like to ask people at the end of our conversation. So the first one is, what's the best thing about living in Hawaii?
The rainbows.
Oh,
I love the
wow.
rainbows. They never get old.
That's so
So
cool.
good.
I would have never thought
Mhm.
of that. I bet.
Mm,
Okay, good. We love
it's
that.
so fun.
All right. And Marla lives there with her husband and her son. And tell me, you've been married for how long?
9 years.
9 years. Okay. And what's your best tip on marriage and relationship?
Hmm. Not needing to be right.
That sounds terrible. Basically, I'm screwed if that's like your tip for relationship. Oh, dang it. I don't be right. That's great. That's great. I can totally see that, especially with men. Like, don't always need to be right. It's like for me, it's always like pick your battles. What do I really need to be right about?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's usually not much.
Whatever.
Right? It's usually
Yeah.
like not much. It doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah.
just the ego.
Just
That's
get over
hilarious.
yourself.
Just get over yourself. That's hilarious. All right. So you in this oh, you know what? I have a question. What would you say was your rock bottom with your food, with your body? You know how like alcoholics have a hard bottom and then they're like, oh shit, like I gotta go to AA. And so like what was your hard bottom?
I feel like I had so many of them.
So
One of
pick
my
one.
hard bottoms, right. If you watch my TEDx talk, you'll hear both of these. But one was when I just like binging my face off after I ate, like working at the Hard Rock Cafe and just eating and eating and eating and eating and just lying in my bed that night feeling like such a failure and just being like, okay, I obviously need some big help. And then the next one I would say was the one that catapulted me into getting help was when I really thought that hitting a specific number was going to make me happy. And when I hit that number, I dropped so low. It was like, because I hit that number and I felt like, I mean, it was the worst time in my life. And it was the
Oh,
thinnest I'd ever
yeah.
been. And I thought I was going to be like, oh. So it
Oh,
was the dark night of the soul, but like the moment where of surrender. It's like, okay, this is,
wow.
I'm done. I
Yeah.
got to get some deep help on this one.
Wow. I gotta go watch that lady love herself in that eating disorder movement and judge her and be like, why? What's she doing loving herself? What's she doing that
Right?
Reiki thing, loving herself? How dare she? Oh, I love that. Thanks so much
How
for
dare
sharing
she?
that. That's such a good, those are so good. I love that. And it's such a clear example of like, you said it's not about the food. Like you were as thin as you've ever been on the scale and you were still not happy. And then you're like, oh shit, it's not about the body. It's not about the food. It's about something else. And then you started your journey. I love it. Thanks so much for being you. This is great. Definitely check out Marla's TEDx talk too. So if you go to her website, she has a link to her TEDx talk, which is very, very great. So thank you so much for being here. It's been so fun to interview you. We've been friends for a long time, but I've never actually interviewed Marla. So this is such a delight for me. So awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, Arian. And I hope
Yeah.
this was helpful for all of you.
Oh, I'm sure it is. All right. This is Rock Your Life with Arian Alexander, and I will see you next week. Okay, I'm going to turn the recording off.